Linux Weekly Daily Wednesdays. This is where we talk about Linuxy goodness, just regular news, some stuff kind of related to Linux, and, of course, a little bit of gaming. I'm Vin Stone.
And I am Pedro Mateos.
Like we do every week, let's just get right into it, all right?
Yep, sounds good.
Oh, what's this about?
First off this week, this is a pretty big one. If you probably know Jim Sterling, he's the one that covers all those early access games that show up on Steam, and even some of the best of Steam Greenlight trailers. And apparently there was actually the one indie developer that actually decided to throw a hissy fit when it comes to him, which was Digital Homicide. They made a ton of shovelware games. Anything from the Slaughtering Grounds to Temper Tantrum and several other ones that are just, they are the definition of Unity asset flips. And they feel like Mr. Jim Sterling has targeted them in a libelous campaign to besmirch their good name, as it were. And they've actually filed for 9 counts of libel and several other things. And apparently the total, according to the Structoid, is $11,561,000 that they expect to get from this lawsuit. Of course, this goes deeper than that because the guys from Digital Homicide were originally in talks with Kotaku, and when the Structoid poked them for some more information, they just forwarded to the Structoid the conversation that they were having with Kotaku. And then when the Structoid said, look, we don't want that, we just want more information, they came back, Digital Homicide came back and said, if you publish anything that we might consider libelous or in any way harmful to our image, we will take you to court as well. And the Structoid was just like, no, we don't deal with threats around here. So yeah, this is this has yet to, come to some sort of conclusion, but being the smart, sexy man he is, Jim Sterling is keeping quiet about this until such time as it's appropriate to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, this all started out with, as you said, the Slaughtering Grounds, which was just a complete, just mismatch of, store-bought assets, horrible game, and they DMCA'd him, out of like, rawr. And of course, he got back on that, and this thing just escalated. I mean, they were the ones that came up with the Jim Sterling son. So, doing that, he adopted that business. Reading through this, and I didn't go through the entire court bit, but it boils down because they got their fifis hurt, and
basically,
looking over it, I mean, it's unlikely that they're going to be able to manage to prove that there was any malicious intent, libel, or just misinformation. I mean, and to have the audacity to say, well, you hurt our reputation. It's like, you needed no help with that, Brad. None whatsoever. I mean, completely. But, he's being quiet about it. I'm guessing he was smart enough. His system, LLC, and I'm pretty sure all he has to do is say, hey, anybody spare some coin with legal fund? I'm going to throw in just because I want to see these people burnt to the ground.
I forgot. Digital Homicide actually started a crowdfunding campaign to help them pay for the judicial costs of suing Jim Sterling. Guess what happened?
I can just imagine it was sunshine and rainbows, wasn't it?
They had to kill it after like 2 hours because people were just pledging 1 cent just to generate charges and nothing else.
Well, let's talk about something that's a little better.
Yes, it's actually kind of awesome. It's the new Nvidia beta driver for Linux. It's version 364.12, and it brings support to the 920 and the 930MX. And I think the most important bits are that it now supports Vulkan. You get a mainline it's still a beta, but it's a mainline driver that supports Vulkan. And you also get EGL support, which means Wayland and the other one.
Mirror. It's going to be amazing. It's going to replace everything. You're going to run it on all the devices because I'm just kidding with you. It is kind of neat because this is going to give them like about a 6-month window if they're going to be rolling out Mirror for the default for Unity 8 when that launches. And so that'll give them time to hammer that out. But I got about as much faith. I mean, it's good to see that Wayland and Mirror will have Hairworks. And it's Nvidia. Nvidia's like, here you go, man. We're just going to dump it in your face, Oregon. What are you going to do with it? I mean, have some fun. And maybe we can finally get off X. But, yeah, the Vulkan thing was nice. We were talking before the show. It's nice to get off those 355 drivers from last year that we were running.
Yeah, especially if you're on Fedora, because if you were using the 355, since they didn't sign something which caused the GLX context to not accept compositing. So if you, say, had a GLX compositor going, like most of everyone does, the drivers would just no pure X session. But this one actually fixes that, and everything works out of the box. They did everything properly. And speaking of doing things properly, GLVND is the default this time around. So no more NVIDIA custom sim links or
hackery
hacks.
in general. But,
yeah.
Since we're on the topic of NVIDIA.
Ooh, yes. This is for the furries out there. Hi, Tumblr. Love you guys. This is NVIDIA Hairworks. It's currently available on GitHub, but it's not completely open source, as it were. You need to ask Daddy NVIDIA for permission in order to get us access to the sauce, which is all well and good. It currently still lists DX11 as a dependency, so there isn't exactly a Linux version, but now that everyone can get the sauce, it's mostly a matter of time.
Yeah,
really.
And this is 100% good guy NVIDIA. NVIDIA has no reason to release this, because I can already hear people, but AMD open source, and they had to. They didn't have any other options. It's like, we'll open source the drivers, but with everything else, what are we waiting on now? HBO Plus and WaveWorks, I think. They said they're going to be rolling stuff out like that. Yeah, so
I think those are the list of the GameWorks. Yeah.
Yeah, they said they were going to do it, and here it is. I mean, it's coming out. I mean, it's you got to, sign the EULA, which I'm sure, requires your firstborn and whatever. You can get in there and play with it. But it'll be interesting, stuff like that. I mean, I just want some PhysX support under Linux. I think that would be kind of neat.
GPU accelerated physics.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of tired of doing it on this AMD 8-core CPU, mostly because it doesn't work so well.
Well, one thing we can do with our 8-core CPUs is a little bit of rendering. That's right. Blender 2.77 is out. A couple of things. We got the better subsurface scattering, GPU support for smoke, fire, and point density. There's also support for multi-line text, in-frame nodes, metadata displays, render stamps, and tooltips. And what was it? Where's it? Oh, yeah. The weight painting and the extruding tools. Various small improvements. They did a little bit with the user interface. I really want to go back and start playing with Blender. I have not played with Blender outside of, here's a project, just render it out. Maybe change a few things since they've gotten rid of the old-fashioned moon interface. Do you remember that piece of nightmare cryptography?
It was, it was actually slightly more friendly than Microsoft Access in that respect, but not by a whole lot.
But that's good. Price to sell as in free, blender.org. Definitely check that business.
One of the things that they list with the update notes is support for Windows XP, and the SCONS build system was removed. You were still using SCONS? Really?
That's not a name I've heard for a very long time.
All right, so let's talk about putting stuff in your face. Valve wants VR to run on graphics cards from 2012. Huh. And how are they planning to do this? Basically, they're going to reduce the resolution by 65%. And as long as both of the panels inside of the VR headset can run at 45 hertz, it should be feasible. Now, lowering the resolution is going to make VR look like it did in the 90s. It's just pixels everywhere. And the 45 hertz is probably going to cause a lot of motion sickness. I don't know exactly how feasible this is going to be.
I don't know. I think this was a thought experiment that got a little bit out of control, if you ask me. My first thought was, it's like, what would that be like? And I was like, oh, VR PopIn. Oh, that's not going to cause somebody to hurt themselves horribly. But it will be FSM damn amazing if they get it on video. I don't know. I mean, they're definitely going to have to do something for lower end systems because they are going to have to compete with PlayStation 4 on the price when their complete kit is like $500. And they already have that install base. But I like the little picture you threw in the notes with like pixels everywhere, and it's pixelated. You know, everyone knows the meme image I'm talking about. But then I was thinking when I was about the PopIn, I was like, lawsuits everywhere. Because you know what's going to happen. I'm not talking about just low res or anything like that. Just with VR in general, party games, alcohol, VR, jump scares. I mean, that's just a cocktail of... Come on, think of...
Popcorn material. That's what it is. It's popcorn material.
Well, let's talk about something that is not popcorn material. That's you guys helping us do this number, if you will. This show is a part of a little thing we like to call the LinuxGamecast.com site. We got 73 Patreons, kicking 137 wet, stinky caches. Coming up on that next goal where we're going to force Jordan to play Serious Sam 3. He is looking forward to that. So, you know, think about it. If kick is like 5 cents a show, he would greatly appreciate that. He won't, but we will. And it'll be a fantastic thing. It's patreon.com/Linux Gamecast. Everyone's awesome. Kind of going to like thank Mir again because Patreon like jacked up and it wasn't charging some people, and Mir's like, oh, he did the calculations and like sent in the coin for when it didn't charge him. And I was like, good on you, man. But yeah, if you'd like to buy us a non-alcoholic adult beverage which contains alcohol apparently, if you'd like to do that once a week, think about it. I mean, it'd be nice. But back to it.
Indeed. Ooh, cartoons. Tell us about it.
Toonz software used by Studio Ghibli and Futurama being made free and open. Was this coming out on, I think, the 28th? No, 26th?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be a thing as he furiously scrolls down through his show notes to find out. No, man, this used by Futurama and all the Princess
Princess Mononoke and most of the Miyazaki films as well.
Okay. So this is a serious piece of kit, right?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
There's a lot of
Disney
pedigree behind this
studio, but it's going to be going open source. So, Pedro, you want to take a Pepsi challenge on this? Because my first thought was Brony cartoons in 3, 2.
I'm betting there's going to be a lot of Futurama / Simpsons ripoffs. That's going to be the first ones that's showing up on YouTube. But I don't know, this is a very good thing, and you put in the notes that they're pulling a red hat with their business model, just pay for support.
Well, okay, I don't know why. Maybe I have something against like people in Greece or something, because I read that and I was like, open source Greece, bro? That just doesn't sound for whatever. And I was reading through the article. I mean, this is because Dwhoo, they bought it and then now have the rights from the original publisher's digital video. So, like, as P-Man was just saying, how are they going to make money? They're going to go full metal Red Hat and offer support with this. And Red Hat just became the first $2 billion open source, Linux company period ever, after becoming the first $1 billion. So that might be a good idea. But looking at 26, definitely going to be playing with that and looking forward to some horrible animations from people who watch our show.
Can you imagine cartoon shovelware? All right, let's talk about Dell. You're stuck with a Dell. Well, that used to be a problem. Now, not so much, because they've actually been releasing some really decent pieces of kit over the past couple of years running Linux. And they've basically turned the Sputnik project into a way to get Linux into the hands of anyone that wants it. Say you have a MacBook Pro and you want to stop paying the Apple tax, you can go to Dell, get yourself a XPS 13 Developer Edition running Ubuntu, and away we go. And this is a very good idea. The only way to really end Microsoft's monopoly is to start at the OEM level. And Dell has always supported Linux to some degree. It's actually pretty damn good to see them expand that. That's
yeah, I mean, definitely see them coming in there and like right out of the gate, they're talking about we're focusing on Linux driver development, getting that working with all of our sauce, and talk about having a dockable Lappy with everything working. That'd be nice. I mean, just plug it in. Everything just absolutely works. Mr. Dell, Michael, he took the company private, I think it's been like 13 years ago, and he's genuinely been trying to turn it back around. Yeah. Doing some good work, man. So,
and about the docking thing, if I don't know if they're actually going to do this or not, it's me just spitballing. Mm-hmm. They built those docking systems with some sort of external GPU support for Linux. That would make Dell laptops the de facto choice for people who would just rather have the one teeny tiny laptop they can carry around, and when you get home, you just plug it in, and there you go. You have a pretty badass gaming machine.
Definitely talk about it. I mean, this is PCWorld.com. You'll be able to find all these notes. There'll be a link for the YouTube video to the Patreon page where everything will be. I kind of like how they just like some other people already make Linux laptops like System 76, and they just keep on going.
Clevos.
Do you want really bad blight bleed? Do we have a product for you?
But I mentioned MacBook Pros earlier. Apparently, Apple's been busy this week.
Oh man, we got to talk about this. I mean, I know everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, is this related to Linux?" Well, this is
encryption.
Basically, this is related to Linux because, like in third grade, it met Linux on a field trip. Okay, so technically we can talk about it. It's about your security, and we just got to talk about it because the FBI, ooh boy,
drop it like it's Apple.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Talking about all the security stuff, I'm scared. If you haven't been following this, like just munching the popcorn because I was like, this is gonna be a great nerd fight. I'm gonna love this. FBI's like, hook us up, man. Get us through this because the iPhone, I forget which version it is. It's not I guess it's the
5C.
5C?
Yeah.
I think it's got like 4 tries that it nukes. So I was like, all right, good with that. You're like, hey, Apple, help us out. And Apple's like, hey, die in a fire, all right? We'll give you the iCloud backup stuff. FBI's like, it's not good enough, Brad. Come on, crack it. Apple's like, oh, how about die in a fire in stereo? And back and forwards, and FBI's, we're going to take you to court. And Apple's like, come at me, bro. We don't care. But the FBI just went, maybe we're going to drop it. What's that all about?
Yeah, that's the thing. Over the past week, the FBI said that they were in talks with some third party, which they did not disclose, and that they were going to drop the current case against Apple and work with said third party in order to unlock this phone. And everyone was
Pedro, I mean, this phone was their work phone. They had already destroyed the phones that might have had anything worth getting on.
They tried to reset the password, and that nuked the iCloud backups and everything else. So everything was on the phone. They had no other choice, really, because they, cut up.
Well, even worse than that, this phone. This is a complete show because the phones that they're trying to get into, or the phone, was the one that was assigned to them from work. They had personal phones, which they had already wiped themselves, not the FBI, and they were gone, smoked.
Oh, yeah.
So they're not trying to Continue. Sorry, I just wanted to make.
Yeah,
that
no. And now, according to, well, there's some speculation. You actually put it in the show notes.
Well,
Why don't
I
you
mean,
go ahead?
here's the official thing from Apple Insider, and Empty's already got it in there. FBI's like, don't worry, guys. It's just a joke. Calm down. We got this Israeli company and all that. Okay, that just makes me, kind of want to put on my aluminium hat and adjust it for a second. Because I just when I read that, I just immediately visualized the NSA walking into the FBI headquarters and like swacking that glue stick out of their mouth. Like, what the hell are you thinking? FBI, do not tango with a company that can convince people to pay a 30% premium for just commodity PC hardware. Bad idea. Don't get that in the press, because what you did, you see, before the FBI poked that reality distortion field known as Apple, Grandma didn't know about this encryption thing. But now that shite's on the nightly news, son, and she wants some. And guess what? The NSA, they don't like people making their jobs harder. So
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying in this conspiracy world I'm living in, that the NSA is like, shut the heck up, guys. We'll get you, say you got somebody else to do it. Here's the tech to do it, because American alphabet agencies are famous for not working together, and all that. And we'll get you that. Just get this out of the news cycle. We don't want any more of that. I mean, it's completely crazy talk, right?
it's no, it's really not. It makes a lot of sense because, hey, now everyone knows about encryption, and it's been proven time and time again that the NSA does not like encryption. Hell, they even got in touch with several Linux developers to get them, including Linus Torvalds, to get them to put a backdoor into the Linux kernel. So, yeah. But speaking of Apple, on some lighter news, they have released Swift 2.2. It's their programming, coding language, whatever you want to call it. And
did they
version
tailor
2.0
this release? Nothing. Bad joke. Go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't really catch that. Well, they have released version 2.2, and not only did they originally support Linux with not the OG version of Swift, but the version immediately after that already had Ubuntu support.
Mm-hmm.
This one does again. So at this point, I have to ask. Linus Torvalds said that if Microsoft ever made software for Linux, then he'd won.
We are living in a moon universe, Pedro, where Microsoft has its own Debian spin. But
yeah,
I was reading through this. Does not include the Swift core libraries. And I was like, that's a very roundabout way of saying doesn't really do anything yet.
Yeah. That's the caveat that you have right now. Well, someone will figure that out. But it's a good idea on Apple to actually get a Swift 2.2 in the hands of, developers. And if a developer is worth his 2 cents of development, he's probably using Linux. He or she is probably using Linux. So, yeah. But again, what does it mean when Apple is making their own coding tools and languages available to Linux and continue to support it?
I don't know. It's Apple. It's a void of just like shrug emoticons.
Yeah, because it could be good, but at the same time, it's Apple.
And plus, we all know Go is the future, so.
XML, all the things.
This one is kind of a lighter note, but I just couldn't pass this up. I'm like a dog chasing a car. Wouldn't know what to do if I got it. Marco, not Trevisan.
Trevisan?
Okay. Works with a canonical, all that. And just because we can, I want to read this because you just got to absorb this. Thanks a lot to the Ubuntu client team for their hard work to bring the launcher on the bottom edge of Unity 7. Yes, you heard me right. It took a team to get that
Chinese
down there.
developers, because Ubuntu Killin is the Chinese spin.
Aha. Why, oh why, Does anyone still use Unity? Friends don't let friends use Unity. Pedro.
I mean, someone really needs to remind Canonical that 1993, the year where, well, basically the year where Windows introduced a little panel at the bottom and macOS introduced, the original macOS, introduced a little docky thing at the bottom, and you could actually change it from one place to another. This isn't 1993 anymore, Canonical. This is 2016. That was 23 years ago.
I'm sorry. I mean, I remember when they were talking about Unity's release. I mean, I went out of my way. I pulled it and I built it. And I was like, I want to try this thing out. And still to this day, on that off chance that I have to launch it to check something, I'm just angered and confused in 30 seconds, and I get out of it. It's.
I get sort of the appeal for those people that aren't as literate when it comes to computers, because it lays everything out in their face, the heads-up display as they called it, and they can actually figure it out. I tried it with Nori. She actually knows a hell of a lot more about operating systems than most of everyone I know. But she was like, oh, yeah, I can work with this, until it started chugging. And that's the problem with Unity. It's built on Compiz. That is a performance hog.
Really?
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about pies last week.
Yes, we did.
So I asked you a little thing to write us back about. What do you say?
He said, honestly, I like the idea of a USB drive for a Pi. Since the Raspberry Pi doesn't have anything faster than USB, this will be sufficient. Particularly, I see this being useful for file servers, storing something large like a collection of videos. I can see why people wouldn't be a fan of the size, being that hard drive capacity can be as high as nearly 10 terabytes, assuming that doesn't already exist at the consumer level. 8 terabytes, but close enough. Me personally, 300 gigs is plenty. You were talking about file servers. 300 gigs on a file server it's going to fill up in a day.
I don't. Hey man, each to their own. I'm kind of with Pedro. 300 gigs is just enough to get you in trouble, man.
Yep.
Makes you think. But you could, yes, empty. You're right, and it's get it. It was on Pi Day. It's 300. It's should have been on April Fools. It would have made it more sense as a product. Especially as cheap as drives are. I mean, if I was putting something inside a Pi, like in a case like that, it would definitely be an SSD just because power. And but if I was putting a big drive on there, maybe, like a 6 terabyte drive, and slap it on the side, tape it around it, and that'd be good to go, right?
And one of the things I mentioned last week is because this was a 314 gigabyte drive at $31.40. So you were basically looking at 10 cents a gig, and that's already crossing into SSD territory for, let's see. You could actually get one of the Kingston V300's 480 gigabytes SSDs for around $150. Yeah, that's pretty good. That is actually pretty good, and they're exactly the same size as this drive. It's a 7mm 2.5-inch wide drive. So I don't know why.
It's a thing. Maybe someone, I don't know. It's just not a unique form factor. Somebody out there, write us. Just go to linuxgamecast.com, hit that contact button, fill it out. Just put a note in the header, this is for a Linux Weekly Daily. Right. Yeah. Do that, because next month we'll actually be setting up a real boy site and coming out of beta. It's going to be fantastic. I know. But that's going to be it for this week. We've done our time, about 30 minutes. It's been fantastic hanging out with everyone in Chat Realm. If you're watching on the YouTubes, just leave a comment on the tubes if you want, or leave a comment on the Pats and get back with us. We'll try to get that in the show next week. I'm Vince Stone.
And I am Pedro Matos, and I love you guys. Seriously. Thank you for letting us do this. Sunlight.
Feels icky over here.